It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Smooth and Savvy is joined by some of the hottest talent in the entertainment industry, from musicians to authors and all those in between. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. Smooth and Savvy himself, Douglas Coleman.
Hello there. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. Nice to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. Well, I can remember a year ago when we started this show, the idea was to promote indie music. And the show kind of sprouted wings of its own, and we took off in different directions. We started getting authors on, and then screenwriters and filmmakers. So we expanded the show to include basically anybody in the entertainment industry. Have been receiving many wonderful submissions. As of late, I've been getting a lot of indie filmmakers who are promoting their new projects. And I got to tell you, it's been kind of a learning experience for me, a pleasant one. One of the rants I always go on about on the show is about how technology has been a double-edged sword for musicians, where it's helped us a lot because it makes it easier to record and make decent quality masters at home for little money, and especially in promotion and distribution. That's all changed because of digital. The same thing has happened with indie film. But what I'm finding interesting about the indie films that I've been getting and watching is that you can hardly tell the difference between that and what's being produced at Paramount or Universal. If your film doesn't need a 50-car chase scene or spaceships or the White House blowing up, if you're telling a story that is a romantic comedy, that is a thriller, that's a drama, it can be done. And the result is incredible. Technology has gotten to the point where if you have a good camera and if you know what you're doing, you can put together an incredible film. And I'm seeing more and more of these films. Pleasantly surprised, I must say. Having said all that, we've got one here today, as a matter of fact. The film is called Mommy's Box. It was written by Johnny Greenlaw. Johnny wrote it, directed it, starred in it, and was also the prop guy, as he explains in the interview. The story is basically about a music producer who has to go home because his mother passes away, and the subsequent adventure he goes on when he goes back home. The movie co-stars Bill Sorvino, who you might know. He's done a lot of different work, comes from a very illustrious family of actors. Paulo Sorvino is his uncle, and Mira Sorvino is his cousin. He co-stars as Johnny's brother. Aside from this being a great film, the acting is great. It's a nice story. The music is fantastic. The music was all composed by Paulo Coelho, not the author of The Alchemist, but the same name. And we have one of the songs from the soundtrack, which I'm very happy to be able to play. The song is called Maybe So, Maybe Not, and it was written and performed in the film by Paulo, with backing vocals by Carly Brooke, who also co-stars in the film. So, we're going to play the song first, and then straight into the interviews. Johnny is up first, followed by Bill Sorvino.
So I'll lay it down. Good?
Okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right, let's go for it. Let's do it, okay?
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Every day's a new beginning. Anything you want is yours. There's no point to mystifying all the questions down the road. If that road rises to meet you, then leave your worries far behind. Maybe so, maybe not so. Why? Time will keep on moving. Better days are yet to come. Whoa, the answers lie ahead. Oh, just ahead. And after many years of trying to make the grade and toe the line, the many riches we have gathered will surely all be spent in time. So don't you lose sight of all that you love, for love is so divine. Maybe so, maybe not so. Why? Time will keep on moving. Better days are yet to come. Whoa, the answers lie ahead. Maybe so, maybe not so. Why? Time will keep on moving. Better days are yet to come. Whoa, the answers lie ahead. Oh, just ahead. I know they lie just ahead. I know they lie just ahead.
Okay, please welcome Johnny Greenlaw. Hi, Johnny. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. You are a filmmaker, amongst other things. You're an actor, a director. Give us a little background on yourself, please, and then we'll talk about your film. I just want to tell people, or have you tell people, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about your films.
Absolutely. I'm born and raised in New York. I grew up on Long Island, a town called Floral Park, and I went to Hofstra University, studied film and television production there. I'm currently living in Los Angeles with my wife and my 4-month-old daughter. And, as you said, I am a filmmaker, a writer, director, and actor as well. Did a lot of theater work when I was in New York as an actor, and worked on producing and directing a bunch of indie film projects over the years.
So you were a theater actor before you got into film, or were you doing that at the same time?
No, they overlapped pretty naturally. I never set out to be just like a theater actor or anything like that. I just enjoyed acting, and quite honestly, I started acting on camera before I did any theater work. So got the acting bug in front of a camera, and then wanted to get a little more serious about my acting, and started taking some classes in New York City, which led to some live stage performances, which then led to acting in several plays. So it was just like a natural progression, but I was always doing film work along with that.
It's interesting to me with indie film, because I've interviewed several indie filmmakers, and I think the climate has changed with the internet, like with music, where there's a lot more of it going on perhaps than there used to be. And there's a lot more avenues for people who are making indie projects to get their stuff out there. Would you say that's true?
100% accurate. Yeah. When I started shooting, I was shooting on film, and it wasn't easy. It was very costly, and, buying the film stock and having it developed, and then the editing process, and it was very expensive, and it was very limiting to who can do it. And with the whole digital revolution, that's changed everything. Now everybody, you can go to the store and get a camera that's of, good enough quality where you can then go and shoot whatever you'd like to shoot and put it into your computer and edit it, and it's not very costly at all. So, in a sense, for someone like me, it's kind of flooded the market, which isn't great. I mean, I'm not thrilled about that. I mean, it's nice that people can tell their stories, but it has kind of flooded the market. It did open some avenues which are great for independent filmmakers if you have a high quality film, a good film, and that's all the outlets online, whether it's Amazon or Google Play or iTunes. So there are other avenues to sell your films and to put your work out there. So I don't know, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's opened some doors and created more avenues to show your work, but at the same time, those avenues are a bit mucked up and flooded, if that makes any sense.
Well, it makes perfect sense. And it's one of the rants I go on with indie musicians, because I'm an indie musician. We use that exact same term, that it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's great because we can get our stuff out there. On the other hand, there's so much of it out there that you have to sort of wade through the crap to find the good stuff. And you tend to get
exactly right.
sort of pissed off after you've watched 30 films and you find one that's a good one, and
exactly.
The one thing I did want to ask you, though, about film, I mean, is there any kind of a gatekeeper in terms of what is allowed to be uploaded to like Vimeo or something? Or is it like YouTube where you can just put anything on there?
Well, there are, yeah. So for sites, I believe, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play. I'm not 100% sure because I do my releases through a distributor. They handle that end. But I know, on Vimeo, you can create your own account on Vimeo. It doesn't cost much. Maybe it's like $100, $200 a year, and you have your own kind of Vimeo page and account. And then you can upload whatever you want on there. Now, Vimeo, I don't know how it works with Vimeo, but I'm pretty sure you could charge people if they want to rent on Vimeo. As far as it goes on Google Play and Amazon, I'm pretty certain that they're looking for higher quality products, films to sell. I don't think that they'll just accept everything. I know that iTunes can be selective at times as well. So there are some platforms that like YouTube or like Vimeo where anybody could put anything on there. But I think some of the other ones, they are, they'll look for higher quality.
So there's a screening process for some of those where they wouldn't necessarily just take anything somebody shot with their Handycam and stick it up there. It has to have some.
Yeah, correct. I think there are certain limitations for certain sites. But that runs into the problem again, like we said earlier, which is, the market's flooded. So there are too many things. There are just too many choices. So, that's the $1 million question, is how do you stand out above the crowd? And what we tried to do was we did a festival run for, almost about 8 months. We screened at festivals. We won some awards. So I think that'll help a film. If someone's serious about renting a film and they want to look at the pedigree of a film, and, they can look at Joe Schmo's film, which hasn't done a thing and hasn't screened anywhere and doesn't have any press on it, or they'll look at a film like ours and it's got some awards at festivals. It's got some good reviews. It's got some good user reviews. The audience is liking it. So I think you have to do your work. You can't just if you're serious and you want to sell it and you want to get it out there, you have to do all that legwork, and you do the festivals for 6 to 8 months, even a year, and I try to get some traction in the press and some notoriety on your film. That's the way to do it.
So, how do you make your money back on a film like this? Is it strictly through like video on demand rentals, or how viable is DVD sales these days? Yeah,
DVDs. It's DVD. At one time, maybe it was about 10, 15 years ago. DVDs. After a film would be released, DVDs, it would just make a killing, and that business has just gone down the toilet because of the whole thing. So, DVDs are pretty much a lost cause unless you have a film that's like a Lassie family type film, which, will go to Target and Kmart and Walmart, and, because they're selling DVDs at Walmart, but they're selling family films, Lassie Goes Home, and they're also selling, any other genre film, like, maybe a horror film they'll sell. So unless you're really specific genre film, you're not going to sell that many DVDs. The way you make your money back is twofold. One is, you could try to do a theatrical release, which we had a limited theatrical release, and you make a few bucks back in some select theaters, right? You're not going to make a killing or all your money back that way, but you'll make a few bucks back that way. Where you want to make your money back is in the secondary markets, which is on Amazon, which is Google Play, iTunes, and so really getting the word out and trying to get those rentals up. And then another way to make your money back, which our film will be going to, is the American Film Market, which is every year in November in Los Angeles, is the American Film Market. And all the foreign markets come to this market looking for films to buy and sell in their market. So it's a global market. All the countries are represented. You know, you have all of Europe there, the Asian markets, all of that. And they're all looking for good films to sell in their countries, good American films. So the distributor, Indie Rights, for our film, they're bringing the film to the market, and they are going to sell off any foreign territories they can, wherever there's interest. So that's another way to make back money. And that's a good way to make back money, because what they do is they'll pay you a lump sum rather than a per rental fee. You know, on Amazon, it's like, you know, you got to peck and peck and peck per rental. With this, at least, you know, they'll pay, you know, an upfront cost to show that film in that territory. So, for example, if it's France, you know, France will pay $30,000 or $40,000 a flat fee, and they'll take it to France and they'll show it however they want to show it in France, whether it's on their cable channels or however it is.
So, okay, so they buy the distribution rights for that particular territory, that region.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's very similar to what's happened with music because, you know, like you said, DVD sales is nothing. Musicians aren't selling CDs anymore. You know, people want to stream it, and that's what you're doing by video on demand, where, you know, it'll be what, $2.99, $3.99, something like that.
Yeah, it's like nickel diming, you know,
right.
It's like brutal, but it's just the nature of the beast. And, you know, you have to hope somehow, some way, through social media, something catches fire, which is, it's like catching lightning in a bottle, really. It's tough. It's tough. Films that are making their money are the handful of films that do have big advertising budgets, The Girl on the Train and Sully and films like that, which are out there on billboards and they have commercials running. And so, if you're not doing that, if you don't have a big advertising budget, you have to just really hope that something through social media catches fire and goes that way. That's it.
Now you've made, I see 3 films here plus the new one, Mommy's Pocket. You've made 4 films?
I've been a part of and made several films, but I've directed 2, which is the last one I did was called Finding Frances. It's a documentary, and that's done really well. And it's been out there for a couple of years. People are renting it, people are loving it. Did its festival run, won some awards. So that's out there. That's a film that I shot and directed, and it's a documentary, Finding Frances, and that's on Amazon and on iTunes right now. If people want to check that out. And then I produced several other projects. One is called The Jokesters, and that's a horror film, and that's done really well. That came out last year, and that's available as well. And of course, Mommy's Box, which is the new film, and that was just released last week, and that was released in theaters in Hollywood and also on Amazon and Google Play. So yes, I've got several films under my belt, but this last one, Mommy's Box, is the first scripted feature that I directed.
Okay, now did you star in the other ones as well, or not?
No, I starred in this one, and then there were several films that I been produced and starred in. Like there was a web series called John's Life, narrated by God, which I played the lead. I played John in that, and a very good friend of mine who's a filmmaker, he and I wrote it together, and he directed it, and I starred in it. And so that's on, I believe that's on YouTube right now and Vimeo. It's called John's Life, narrated by God. There is a new film that is called The Empty-Handed Painter that we're in pre-production on, and that's a nice $2 million budget film, very nice indie film that we're in pre-production on now. So we're hoping to shoot that later next year.
I did watch Mommy's Box. Thank you for sending the screener. Yeah, it was great. I really liked the film. I especially liked, the acting was really fantastic. And I also got a kick out of the sort of Goodfellas connection in the film because you had...
Oh, yeah, Joey D'Onofrio.
Right. Joey D'Onofrio, he played young Tommy, in Goodfellas, and he was also in Bronx Tale.
Yes.
So that was that funny connection. Oh, he was Slick. Yeah, he was the older Slick in Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
And then you had Bill Sorvino, who was nephew of Paul Sorvino, who played Paulie in Goodfellas, right? So I got a kick out of that. I was like, wow, I'm just getting all these flashbacks of Goodfellas coming through that.
Oh, I love that scene. I love the scene where with Joe D'Onofrio and Bill Sorvino in the car dealership. Very funny, the two of them. Very good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, really good, really good. Yeah. When I watch that scene, I do feel like I get a little Goodfella feel. I'm like, oh, look at these guys.
Well, it had that, especially, and they were at a Cadillac dealer too. I mean, there was the stereotype right there.
Of course, the cuisine, the Guidos in there.
Yes,
all the Italian guys.
All the Italian.
That's how I grew up. I grew up around a lot of these guys.
Well, and then there was that scene in the gym where he gets kicked out, where they tell him, okay, it's time, you got to go. And they look like, sort of the muscle guys from Goodfellas too. I mean, they could have been,
Yeah.
Now,
growing up, I grew up, where I grew up, I grew up very close to the racetrack, Belmont Racetrack. My high school was right across the street from Belmont Racetrack. And so, when I was in 11th and 12th grade, 16, 17, 18 years old, I'd cut out of the last period and I'd go to the track, and I really grew up on that racetrack. And all the characters there, so like it really is close to home to me. Like all these interesting characters are all people that I really like, I knew or know.
You wrote this one, the screenplay you wrote?
I did. I wrote the screenplay. I wrote the story, and then I like to. There are times where I'm writing a script right now on my own, but there are times where I like to have a writing partner just to bounce ideas off of and things like that. So I brought in a friend of mine. Her name is Caitlin Shearer. And she's a very talented writer. And so I brought the story to her, and her and I spent about 6 months together writing the screenplay for this. And so that's how that came about from the writing side of it.
Was any of that autobiographical, or was it real fiction?
It's a work, as a whole, it's a work of fiction. But I do pull little things, little stories, little truths. As I like to say,
truths,
seeds of truth, right, the truths, seeds of truth that grow into this fictional story. So yeah, there were a lot of true moments. Truth, that's so funny. What's funny? I was in a play. Just sorry to sidetrack, but I was in a play, and my parents talk. I'm half Italian, but my parents talk. They grew up in Queens, and so the way they speak, some of the words they say. My dad says all I'm gonna do. I'm in this play, and my line is all I'm gonna do is, and I'm saying all I'm gonna do. Someone says to me, "Are you saying all?" And I said, "All? What is all?" Yeah, so they called me out on it, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm a Goomba from New York. What do you want?" But anyway, yeah, that's anything wrong with my dialect is my parents' fault. But anyway, yeah. So actually, back to Mommy's Box. I thought you'd appreciate the music that was in Mommy's Box. Full original soundtrack and score. Did you enjoy that?
Well, that was the next thing I was going to bring up. Yes, I did. I love the music.
Oh, okay.
Paulo,
yeah.
Yeah. The music was fantastic.
His name is Paulo Coelho, same as the author of The Alchemist.
Oh,
and different guy, same name, and finding him was a godsend. Really, he's amazing. You heard his music, super talented guy. All original songs in the movie. It's about a guy in the music business. He's a producer, meets a girl who's a singer. She's singing some songs in the film. Those are Paulo's songs, and Paulo also scored the film. And I just couldn't be happier about it. And how I met him was about 3 years ago at a networking event in New York City. He was playing, and after I approached him and I said, I have this script, and I need some original songs. And he was hesitant at first, because he didn't know me and he didn't know the project, and it took me a good 6 months to gain his trust. And when I did, I brought the actress to meet him, Carly, who's playing Jordana, and we would go to Central Park. and he'd play on his acoustic guitar, and she'd sing, and it was really nice. And once he got a feel and grasp of the material, he was all in, and he opened up his musical chest, I like to call it, full of just amazing music. And so we were able to add a lot of great music. And Paulo has toured with Gavin DeGraw, Lenny Kravitz, and so we were lucky to have him.
Well, there was that one scene where you come back to the studio, and she kind of drops in unexpectedly after you told her that your mother killed her father, and she comes back unexpectedly, and you introduce her to Paulo, and he just starts in on the acoustic guitar and starts singing. And I mean, I went right back in my chair at that point. I was like, oh my God, because I just wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, but it was that kind of music that just stops you in your tracks, and you just get fixated to that guy, and you say, I want to hear this song. It was, it was just like, it was cool because it really was kind of unexpected. And the whole scene was cool because you didn't expect her to come walking right in either. You thought the relationship was done, and, but no, I liked the story. It had a very real feel about it. It had a kind of made you feel warm and fuzzy at the end. It had a happy ending.
Oh, good.
And
good. Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm curious now, going back to what we were talking about with indie film and all of that, because obviously the quality of the film is fabulous. What kind of a budget did you have to put that together?
Well, so, I was able to raise, I did a Kickstarter campaign.
Oh, okay.
And I was able to raise $25,000 on Kickstarter. And luckily for that, that really got the ball rolling, which goes back to our original, what we were speaking about originally, which was, how this computer age, this digital age has changed things. One of the good things that it's done, which I couldn't have done 10, 15 years ago, is a thing like Kickstarter, where you're able to create this, we shot a little video and we put it up, and we were able to raise $25,000, which is always the toughest part, is getting the money, as you know.
Sure.
And so once we were able to raise that $25,000, some other money came in, from one investor who wanted to put some money in, and some friends and family saw some interest and put some money in. So, look, as far as what the budget was, I'll say this, my accountant always tells me when people ask me what the budget is, tell them it's just under $1 million. But, he doesn't want me to say, but, I'll tell you this. It was under, $100,000.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's just.
No, you're not. Everybody asks, and I don't know why he doesn't want me to answer that exactly, but I will tell you this. It was very low budget, and we had to make a lot of cuts and concessions, and people had to take pay cuts, a lot of the crew, and so people, really had to believe in this project. I had to get everyone motivated. But what I didn't scrimp on, what I didn't chintz out on was getting a great director of photography and with a great camera and a great sound guy, because it needs to look good and it needs to sound good. So, other areas that I couldn't, really afford were, like set design, production designer, which is a key element. You need this person. I had to pick up that slack, so, in the back of my car, I got props and I have this and that, and then I have to come out and I'm directing, and then I have to step in front of the camera and I'm acting. So for me, that was the toughest part, was that I didn't have enough help on that back end. I needed a prop guy. I needed a set designer. I'm on set and I'm looking and I'm setting up the room, and, so it was just a lot in that regard. But director of photography, good quality camera and lenses. You need your lighting guy. It's got to look great, and sound. So that's where all the money went.
So how many cameras did you use to shoot this? I know I'm getting a little technical, but I'm curious.
Just one.
Just
one camera. It was a Sony F3. It's about a $20,000 camera. One of the producers had it as part of his equipment, and so we were able to use it at a really discounted rate, luckily. So, and with some good lenses. So, but yeah, only one camera, and which I would love to use two cameras, but then that's a whole nother addition of crew. You need more camera guys, you need more. So we just had the one camera.
Well, so with one camera, then presumably the cameraman moved around a little bit while the scene was shooting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he would have to, right?
From different angles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Many different angles, and so doing the same scene over and over again from many different angles.
Is that how you did it? Really? You'd just do it over again?
That's how it's done. That's how we all do it. That's how it's done. That's it. So if most films are shot. I mean, if you have the big budget film, you might have 2 or 3 cameras on set, but for most indie films, it's one camera, and how you do it is you set up your shot and you shoot your master shot, which is the wide shot of all the action. There's 2 actors in there, both actors are in there, and then you shoot that. You do a few takes of that, and then you move into either your medium shots or your close-ups, and you do your one angle on the one guy, and you do your other angle on the other guy. And then if you want to insert any shots of maybe his hand is picking up a fork or his hand is with a cigarette, you do a few insert shots and then you move on. That's the scene, So, and that could take a full day,
Yeah.
Cutting up, rechanging, moving the lights. And
how do you manage the continuity when you have to do the same scene over and over? Because it wouldn't necessarily be identical, would it?
No, well, that's exactly right. So you have to make sure your actors don't screw you up there. You have to make sure that they're wearing the same exact thing, that they're doing the same exact thing, that their hand is moving the same exact way. And, it can cause problems in editing if that goes, off the rails a little bit. It can cause problems. You just have to stay on top of it. You have to, me as a director, I'm watching what's going on set. I'm looking at the monitor, I'm watching. And I have to keep an eye on all of that. When you have a bigger budget, you have your continuity person there, you have your script supervisor there, and they're keeping an eye on that. We also had a wardrobe person there that was making sure everything was labeled and marked, and if we're doing things out of order, that if it's a day later and then we're going back to the other day, that the outfits are the same and matching. You take pictures. Now with the camera phone, you just take pictures with the camera phone to make sure everything is matching in the scene. So you just have to really stay on top of it.
Wow. Sounds like a hell of a lot of work. How long did it take you to
It is.
How long did it take you from start to finish with this film?
Well, it's the whole process from when I started writing was probably a little over 2 years from the writing process, and then raising the funds, and then shooting. We shot for about 3 weeks. And then a few months later, we went and shot, after we edited some, I saw there were some additional scenes and shots that I needed. So, which is common. We went and shot those additional scenes. And then it screened at festivals for about 8 months until this moment now. And now it's just on September 30th, it was just released. And now we're just out promoting it. The life of a film is, any film really is 2 to 3 years,
I did have one question that I think it answered itself when I watched the film, but I was confused. The woman who was named Hayes, she was the sister?
Hayes is the childhood friend. So sister figure, the childhood friend.
Okay, because I wasn't clear who exactly she was. At first, I thought she was Joey's wife at the beginning of the film.
Oh, okay.
Because you remember she shows up at the dealer and she's all pissed off that somebody scratched her Cadillac, right? So I thought it was his...
She's a childhood friend of the family. So she's old friends with Joey, old friends with Nick, and she kind of grew up with the family. But she's just a family friend.
Oh, okay, yeah, because there was one reference where he said, "Well, you're an only child," and I thought, "Oh, wait a minute, well, that can't be the sister then." So I wasn't.
No, she's the family friend.
All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that for me.
Absolutely.
Well, the film is called Mommy's Box. It's available. Tell us where it's available again.
It's available on Amazon. It's available on Google Play, and it will be coming soon to iTunes. We will also, in December, we'll be releasing the soundtrack for the film, which will be available on iTunes in December. So right now, you can go onto Amazon or Google Play. It's available now there. Coming soon in the coming weeks on iTunes and some other platforms. And if you want to see some news about it, there's a great Twitter feed, which is Mommy's Box Film, at Mommy's Box Film on Twitter. And you can also go to the Facebook fan page, Mommy's Box Facebook fan page. And the website is mommysboxmovie.com.
Oh, super. Unfortunately, we're out of time for the interview, but I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate that, Douglas. Thank you.
For everybody who's listening, go see the film or see the film. I guess you don't have to go anywhere to see the film now. You just sit at home.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's in limited theaters. It's in screening in New York and LA right now. It's in LA and Hollywood. You can go onto fandango.com to check movie times if you want to see it in the theater.
And be sure to listen to the fabulous music by Paulo Coelho, because the music is fantastic. Okay, well, thank you again, Johnny, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. Best of luck with the film. I hope the film does well. I think it's a great film. It's got fabulous music, fabulous acting, and a little Goodfellas twist for people that are Goodfellas fans.
Thanks for having me, Douglas. I appreciate it.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on The Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
In-house production and recording in Louisiana Publishing Company is now offering a special for podcasters on their CD Pro Radio network. For just $20 a month, CD Pro Radio will broadcast your podcast twice a week on their network. This is a great and inexpensive opportunity for podcasters to gain some exposure for their show without having to spend a lot of money. Please check them out at cdproradio.com. That's cdproradio.com.
Acclaimed author of Garden, Jane Yates brings you the first book in a new trilogy, Octopus Pirate, a story of a foundling who has unusual talents, such as the ability to communicate with octopuses. As a baby, he was washed up on an island off the Scottish mainland. An eccentric former nun who lives alone with cats brings him up. He joins a circus and narrowly escapes plots against him, flees to Cornwall, builds a replica pirate ship that's also an airship to travel back in time to fight real pirates. Get your copy today from Amazon, only 99 cents.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps from the UK, record producer, engineer. You might have heard of me. I've worked with artists from Elton John to Led Zeppelin to Bad Company, Twisted Sister, Robbie Williams, Oasis, many great bands and artists in the past and the present and hopefully in the future. But you can work with me as well. You know, all you got to do is get in touch with me on eppsmusicproductions.com. That's EPPsproductionsmusic.com. And I can help you with your productions and with your recordings. A lot of people do home recordings now, which you can only take so far. Maybe they need a bit of professional help. So get in touch with me and we can sort it out. And thanks for Douglas Coleman for giving me the spot. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.
Go listen, download, and subscribe to The Douglas Coleman Show. It's available at the website douglascolemanmusic.com/DCS. Also on iTunes, Spreaker, and YouTube. The Douglas Coleman Show is an internationally syndicated talk and music show that features fascinating and sometimes famous guests from all aspects of the entertainment industry. The topics can range from light and fluffy to sober and serious. Our focus is on music artists, but we also feature producers, authors, directors, and even promoters. The Douglas Coleman Show. Sometimes chat, sometimes music, always entertaining. Again, it's available today at the website DouglasColemanMusic.com/DCS. You can also connect with them on Facebook at Douglas Coleman Show 1, follow on Twitter at Douglas Coleman 3, and you can even find them on TuneIn Radio. Again, that's the Douglas Coleman Show at the website DouglasColemanMusic.com/DCS, iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, and more. Go listen, download, subscribe, and share with your social networks today.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Ooh, don't know my own strength.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome my special guest, Bill Sorvino. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. You come from a very illustrious family of actors, and I was curious if acting was something that you always wanted to do as a kid, being surrounded by other people in your family who were successful actors. Was that something, or did you have something else in mind at first?
Oh, yeah, no, it's funny how that worked. I actually was not interested in acting at all growing up. I was interested in, of course, my uncle's career and everything he did. He's kind of like a mentor to me. He has always been since I was actually young since I was born. But I wasn't interested in acting. I was just very interested in the arts in general, and my uncle fostered that for me. My father's not really much the artistic type, so my father was my father in a lot of ways, but my uncle was like my artistic father, so to speak, growing up. So, but I was much more interested in music. I played in a lot of bands, and I was even on a small record label for a while. And so I was more of a musician kind of guy, singer-songwriter, and just got tired of that game because it's kind of a very strange industry, and it doesn't have, there's no parameters, there's no structure whatsoever. So I got tired of all that, and having all kinds of possibilities. Oh, it's the big deal, and then it's just too tough. The spark hit me of acting when I spent a very long weekend with my uncle and Mira, actually, right around when my daughter was born. And just so happened to be, we spent a long weekend with Mira and her husband Chris and my uncle and the whole family, my parents, my wife and I and my young baby. And just being around a lot of conversation that weekend, it just struck me that I wanted to go towards acting, and I talked it over with my wife. She's like, "Yeah, go for it. You're a performer. You've always been a performer." So I went to the same teacher that my uncle went to, William Esper Studio. Goes back a very long. He's a very, very illustrious teacher in New York City. I went to that studio for 2 years, and then another year with John D'Appolito, a great acting teacher, master class, and here I am.
And here you are. Your uncle obviously is Paul Sorvino, who was in Goodfellas, and he played Paulie. There was a scene that you did in Mommy's Box with Joe D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio, yeah.
D'Onofrio, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
D'Onofrio, actually. Technically, yeah.
Who was in Goodfellas. He played,
yep.
Right, he played the young Joe Pesci character.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, and when you guys were in the Cadillac dealer, when he's your boss in the movie, and he was going to fire you, and then he gives you a second chance, there was something very reminiscent about Goodfellas just in that scene. It was kind of weird because you do look like your uncle a bit. There's a resemblance, sort of a younger version of him. And when I saw the two of you together playing off there, it was kind of like, whoa. There was just something about it that Johnny said the same thing.
You're not the first person to mention that. In fact, Joey and I have worked together on 4 different films now, also with Who's Jenna, in which actually, as another side note about Goodfellas, Tom Baldinger, the director, he was like, "Bill, do you mind doing an homage to Goodfellas?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Do you mind slicing garlic with a razor blade and a close-up?" I was like, "It's fine, Tom. I'll do it. It'll be funny." There's always that thing with my uncle and that stuff. But yeah. So you're not the first person to mention that. I've worked with Joe 4 times now, and we always work off each other. People see that chemistry we have, and in fact, my partner in my production company partner saw that in one of our films. He said, Bill, I have an idea for a TV show script. And we actually developed the TV show that we're pitching to networks as we speak, basically. It's me and Joey having that chemistry basically the whole show,
Oh, that's great.
And it's it's reminiscent of that whole thing, and it's a really cool show. But yeah, that's definitely there for sure. We love working with each other too.
I think your uncle has a good sense of humor about that garlic thing, because I remember seeing him on Martha Stewart, and they were cooking something, and he did that as just sort of a funny bit, He said, see if anybody in the audience remembers this. And that was great. I was laughing about that. I also saw on the World Wide Web that your family, that you guys were on Family Feud at one point.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. The picture was great. I love the picture.
Yeah. We did that. We actually did that back in, we shot it in, I think it was the end of April, I believe it was, or middle of May or something. And they aired it in July. That was just a recent, very, very recently aired in July in this past season. And it was a lot of fun. They called me up. They said, Bill, they were doing Celebrity Family Feud. You want to come out and do it? I'm like, sure, why not? And we did it, and it was great. It was really a lot of fun. Steve Harvey is so funny. The guy is so talented. He just stood up there, no cue cards, no teleprompter, and just did the show. Unbelievable. Wow. Very, very. Big hats off to Steve Harvey. Great guy, nice guy too.
What was the charity you were playing for?
The John Ritter Foundation. As you know, he passed away of a heart attack, and it's for their foundation. The wife has set up a foundation.
Oh yeah, that was sad. He was very young when he went too.
Yeah, God,
that was sad.
Much young, great talent. Yeah.
One of the other things I saw in your bio was that you were named top 50 most influential person in Hudson County in 2012 and 2013. How did you get that distinguished award?
So I founded the Golden Door International Film Festival in Jersey City, which is where I'm from, which is where I grew up, and I live part-time as well to this day. Back in 2010. And so a couple of years on, they noticed how much influence we seem to be having on the arts community and the community in general, and the response that the area has gave us. So I guess, and I guess people stood up and took notice and said, hey, these people are really making it happen. So yeah, it was that 2 years there, and then we got another recently. My wife and I together, because she took over running the festival day to day because I got very busy as an actor actually. So once she took over the operations, they included her and I. Now I shouldn't even be included, to be honest with you anymore, but we were recognized that way again in 2015. But yeah, we're out and about in the community, in the Hudson County area.
So the film festival, tell me a little about the film festival. What exactly goes on there? What do you guys do?
It's a film festival like most others. It's multi-genre. We take in, we do have a few distinctions that makes our film festival a little bit more maybe interesting and perhaps more community oriented than some other ones. We have, some philanthropic, components. One being, we're one of the few general film festivals that has a specific component dedicated to autism awareness, and we do that in conjunction with Autism Speaks, the national, very large national charity for autism awareness. And so we have a very robust program to create that. We have seminars and discussions throughout the year as well as during the festival, and we usually screen 20 to 25 autism-related films, and we give an Autism Lighted Up Blue Award to the best film that we feel that represented autism awareness. And then another one is we give $10,000 in scholarships to local students as well as film students throughout, depending on who submitted, and college students and stuff like that, to further their career in filmmaking.
Oh, super.
Yeah. So, we have all kinds of red carpet events. We have a big, huge, gigantic Lowe's Movie Palace as our anchor venue. It's beautiful. It holds 3,000 people. It's just an amazing venue. So yeah, it's a cool event, and we hold it in late September or early October next year.
So now, how did you get involved with the Mommy's Box project?
Through the film festival, actually. Johnny came to me he screened, it was the first or the second year, the second year. He had screened the film the first year, and then screened the film the second year, and now we had known each other a little bit, and he's like, hey, Bill, I have this project that I think you'd be really right for. You'd be playing my brother, would be like the two leads in the movie. What do you think? I'm like, hey, look, let me look at I liked his work already, seeing his stuff. I liked him. So I said, let me see the script. I liked the script a lot. The script was just great. And I was like, Johnny, I love it. What can we discussed it and, I signed on. That's pretty much it. It's just, I love the script and I really like Johnny. As a person and also as a very, very talented filmmaker too.
Well, I saw the movie. I saw the screener. I really liked it. I loved the story and I liked the acting. And I also really loved the music. The music was fabulous.
Yeah, Paulo Coelho is just fantastic.
Yeah. So what else? What are you working on now? You said you were doing another project with Joe.
No, that was okay. No, that's in the can for a while now. That one actually is about to get distribution as well. It's called Who's Jenna. But Joe actually played my best friend. He was one of the main characters in the film, and he plays my best friend. And it's called Who's Jenna. It's a great, funny movie. Gary Pastore, Tracy Birdsall, Lenny Benito, who's now on Kevin Can Wait. He's one of the main characters on Kevin Can Wait, the new, that hit show with Kevin James.
Oh yeah.
Vic DiBitetto, the very, very amazing comedian. So funny. Guy is great. Amazing. It's just an amazingly funny film. Funny, rom-com, crazy twists and turns. And that one, actually, we screened it at the film festival as a special screening, and we had about 400 people there. It was just insane. So they're about to get distribution, but I can't divulge those secrets just yet. And then I have another project called Iron Terry Malone, which I'm doing with Christian Kleiber, who happened to be on Gotham last night, actually. Oh. He played the bookie on Gotham last night, but he's a great actor. He's been in tons of network stuff. He was a regular on Charmed and been on, I don't know, so many different TV shows. But we're doing it. And actually Tom Baldinger, who directed and wrote Who's Jenna, is directing this film called Iron Terry Malone. And we're looking to shoot that in the springtime. We have a pretty good cast attached already. And then I just shot a pilot trailer called Off the Runway. I also play the lead in that. And that's going to be pitched to networks. And I'm shooting another pilot in December, which is going to be the networks are going to be looking to make that one of their pilots in pilot season. Other than that, nothing.
Sounds like a full plate to me. Definitely.
Little bit.
Yeah. One name on here that I was curious about. Your cousin-in-law of Christopher Backus. Is he any relation to Jim Backus?
No. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
I don't know why I thought of that. I just thought I'd throw that in and see if that was a catch.
Yeah, Chris is on all kinds of shows right now. He's really making it. He's making a great career already. He was on Roadies that just got canceled, unfortunately, but he was a regular there, and now he's on I forgot another show on Amazon. I forgot what it's called. He's one of the regulars there too. But Chris is a great guy, wonderful guy. Mira's husband.
Okay, that's the connection.
Yeah.
Well, because I hadn't heard the term cousin-in-law. That was something.
I think
new.
It's on IMDb or something, right?
Yeah, that's what they said. They said
it's
cousin-in-law.
Weird. I don't know how that got. Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Well, it's like uncle-in-law. You don't hear that one, right? So anyways, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate it very much. I know you're a busy guy. Best of luck with all your projects.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, take care. Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guests, Johnny Greenlaw, Bill Sorvino, and thank you to Paulo Coelho for the fabulous music. This is Douglas Coleman saying goodbye.
to make